Hello, my lovely learners. Today we will be painting a utopia and a dystopia on one piece of paper. But before we get started, we need to discuss the elements and principles of art that will be part of a utopia and that will be part of a dystopia. So let's go ahead and look at our chart that we will have made earlier. I've also included it on the PowerPoint if you're looking at the computer. So for Utopia, with the elements, we have line, and as you can see, they're clean, controlled lines. They are wiggly or straight or symmetrical. With the shapes, we have both geometric and organic shapes, but they're also symmetrical, very precise. Colors, we have blue, yellow, green, pink, orange, and purple, and their value is light. We want light and bright colors. As for the principles, we have balance, unity, movement, rhythm, and pattern. Now for dystopia, our lines are kind of all over the place. They're out of control, they're crazy. Our shapes, they are not necessarily symmetrical, they're uneven, they can be jagged or rough. Our colors, we have really dark colors. We have black, brown, green, gray, red, and blue, and the values are dark because dystopias can be a scary place. As for the principles, we have movement, pattern, emphasis, and contrast. Okay, and we can always refer back to this while we're painting up on the screen. Okay, so the materials that you're going to need are a piece of paper, and if your paper isn't well suited for paint, just make sure you have something underneath it to protect the table or whatever you're working on. I just put my sketchbook underneath. You're going to need paintbrushes, Sharpie, I just have two different ones, you can have one, paint, I'm using watercolors, but whatever you have at your disposal is good, acrylics, oil, although oil will take forever to dry. You can even use colored pencils if that's all you have, anything with color. And then you need a cup of water for your brushes, as well as a paper towel or rag to set your wet brushes on when we're all done. Okay, so just using the elements and principles of art, that's how we're going to represent the utopia and dystopia. So let's go ahead and grab a Sharpie, and you're just going to draw a line straight down the middle to divide up your paper in half. Let's do that. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then you're going to write the word utopia on one side. I'm putting it on the left for me. And then dystopia on the other side, on the right side for mine. That's just to really make sure we have a clear understanding of which elements and principles are on which side so that we can use this for our later projects. Okay, so let's start with the utopia. So remember, we're going to use bright colors, and it can be any color as long as it's light and happy, reminds you of happiness or a good place, and you want to put some lines in there, even shapes. But you want to make sure that your section has some balance to it. It's not overcrowded and heavy on one side, one corner. It needs to have balance because it's a utopia. It's a good place. It's the ideal, perfect place. But we're just representing it with colors, lines, and shapes. So I'm going to start with this light purpley blue color. Just to give myself background. And you can make this as fast or take your time as however you want. feel free to pause or fast forward the video at any time. Alright, so I got my blue background. It's a light, very light blue purple. And then I'm going to start adding some lines in there. I think I'll do pink. And for some of these paints, like watercolor, especially if you don't have really thick paper that absorbs the water, you might have to let the paper dry just a little bit before you start adding more colors. Okay, here's my first line. It's a little pink arch. Tried to make it symmetrical and simple, since that's kind of what utopias are about. I'm going to use some yellow now. It's a happy color, like the sun. Very nice. Let's put some bright green in there. I always like green. I'm starting to make some shapes this time. I'm doing little circles. Circles are symmetrical. Circles remind me of smiley faces. These ones remind me of little peas, vegetables, because they're green. Trying to keep it balanced too. So I have the big arch up on top, and now I'm adding some weight to the bottom to help balance it out. Yeah. Very good. Let's choose one more color. I'll do orange. A light orange. Make sure you're rinsing or changing brushes with every color too, so you don't get them all mixed, because then they'll be a dark, ugly color. Okay, so I think I finished the Utopia side. Here's what I got. Okay, moving on to the Dystopia side, now that we have finished the Utopia. Remember to use dark colors, crazy uneven lines, jagged lines. You can have all of your shapes and lines in one part of the page so that it's heavy on one side, unbalanced. Let's get to our first color. I think I'll use this kind of weird brown red color right there. And I'm going to put that as my background. Make sure you're filling up almost all the page. Obviously you don't need to paint over the words, but you don't want a lot of white space. And once you have your background all set, you can start adding the lines and the shapes that you want to really start bringing that theme of dystopia to life. Alright, I got the background finished for dystopia. Let's start adding those lines and shapes. Remember, dark colors. I'm gonna go for black this time. I'm just kind of going crazy. Dystopias are kind of scary. There's imbalance. It's not really unified at all. Plenty of movement. Or sometimes dystopias have no movement at all. Depends on what you think. So I'm going to go for a dark red next. Nice. I think I'm done. See the difference? Pretty cool. And that's the lesson for today. Good job, guys.